folks, Ariel over here at Nyth, where it's one of the last days Nyth will be in this spot. What I'm doing today is taking apart these planters that were the whole way around the house, and they have been for 7 years now, because they're in the way of moving her. So these were originally, if you haven't been following from the beginning, these were made out of upcycled lockers that a local gym was discarding and throwing away. So these were, I just laid the lockers on the back, pulled the doors off, filled them with rocks and dirt. Rocks just because I didn't have enough topsoil to fill the whole thing with dirt. And amazingly, they've held up for 7 years, which is kind of crazy because they're made out of particle board and were never created with the intention of being outside full of wet dirt for years. But they were going in a landfill anyway. I had the opportunity to get them for free because they just wanted them gone. So I thought I'd use them. And they've lasted this long. This year they were going to need replacing no matter what, whether I was moving the house or not. As you can see, this whole board fell off. I just leaned it back up the other day. Several other whole boards have fallen off. It's at the very end of its life. So the remains of these particle boards are just going to go in the burn pile. I'm pulling them up, then I got to shovel away the dirt out of there to get it out of the way of moving the house. And these perennials like my creeping Jenny and all the chives and stuff like that, I'm going to dig up, put in pots just to haul them to the new place and replant them. So that is my project for right now. As you can see, you try to pick them up and they're so aged and soggy now, they just rip apart. See part of the locker hardware, the coat hanger or whatever that was in there. And no, that shovel's really not the right tool for this. The perfect little hand trowel that I took with me the other day when I transplanted some other plants to the new property and forgot to bring back. So I'm stuck with this till I drive back there. But that makes it just a little awkward. But you can see it's working okay. Yeah, the root system on that one clump of chives. Yeah, but it shouldn't have bothered showing you the last one. Check out that. And all these, I started with one clump of chives I bought. They keep, you could split them, like I could split that into multiple ones, which is what I did several times from my original one clump that was in one of these whiskey barrels. And that's how I got all these chives all through here. It's a very easy plant to propagate and it blooms beautifully. You can use it in cooking. The bees and everything love it when it blooms, so I like having lots of chives. That's what happens when you have little pocket gophers that tunnel all through the yard and they make holes under things that were solid You set something on it and all of a sudden it just sinks. This must have been one of the first boxes I filled. I was able to do all this for free because the lockers were free, other than my time and effort, but I was just using topsoil from a pile here on the property, but I quickly realized I wasn't going to have enough to fill all of these big deep boxes with just soil. So this must have been one of the first ones I filled, because after I started putting rocks in, like, you'll see, big rocks that were pulled out of the yard here just so that you could walk around without tripping on everything and rolling an ankle or something. So a bunch of the planters have big rocks in the base and then the same soil on top, but I didn't buy any potting soil or anything. It's beautiful dirt now. It got better every year as I just grew more things in it. Their roots grew up and died. Worms could come up from the ground into it, and fertilized all the herbs and flowers that grow around here with some diluted urine every year. But it's pretty gorgeous soil. You can still see remains of a lot of roots, you know, in there from plants growing last year. And they all die back and just add more nutrients. Another piece that would let you know this was originally a locker. And the soil is all just going to go back into the edge of the woods, which is where it came from. Probably a little richer now. And go on growing things there. These were all the partitions that were just in the lockers originally. So I left them and filled dirt right on in around them. The main point being to get the obstruction away from the trailer that the house sits on, so it's out of the way for pulling the house on out of here. Oh, and since you're looking at this side of the house, people always start looking at this and they tell me, oh, you need to restain your house. This is all sealed cedar siding. It didn't need anything in the first place when I painted it gray. I did that because I liked the color better than the kind of bright orangey yellow cedar, and I wanted to blend into the woods better. So I'd done a single coat of semi-transparent gray paint on it 6 years ago now, something like that. Maybe a little more. It was just for camouflage. I still have some more of it. I may redo it at some point just for looks. This sunny side is a little more faded off than the others, but there's no functional need to do that. It's probably not going to happen this year because I got too many other projects. So what you're seeing is the camouflaging wear off and just going down to the sealed wood underneath there. That's probably heavy enough. Dirt gets heavy when you move it. I don't know if the camera can see all the roots that are in that soil, but there was lots of root fibers the whole way to the bottom of those 19, 20-inch tall planters, something like that. And I don't know what they were from, because there was a lot of different plants in here last summer. You know, annual stuff in addition to the perennials I'm digging out now. So I'm not sure what went that far down. But when they have space, some plants do like to go very far. That actually is probably the chive roots, ones that broke off. Yeah, they smell like chive. So it had a lump of roots in addition to what you saw when I picked it up, that much more at least, down the whole way to the bottom, and it was matting on the floor there. So if it was just in loose dirt, it probably would have went even further if it could. But other things do as well, because this has roots going the entire length, and there wasn't any chives in that partition. Big fat earthworm in that chunk that I could see. Something else a few people asked about was, am I making sure a whole lot of different things are okay on the house before going down the road where she's been sitting for so many years? Yes, even if I didn't know better, Clay is very, very thorough about such things. So part of the reason I need to get all these moved out of the way is so we can check tire pressure and for any leaks. As you can see, until I tore this apart, the tires have been pretty well covered by snow for 8 or 9 months of the year, and then by the planters and flowers the rest of the year, so they really haven't been in the sun. The back side of the house is even shadier, but check them for any leaks, tire pressure, check all the lights, you know, all that stuff, oil and grease and axles and so on. So she's going to be getting a thorough going over before she goes down the road. Don't worry. People are always curious about the other noises they can hear out here. Not sure how well the camera picks up what, but you can probably hear the creek down below the house. It's kind of ripping right now because of the snow melt. This yard is starting to look green, but there's a 2-foot deep pile of snow right back there in the shade. Very last remnants are melting over there by the garden edge and so on, so snow's still melting, and of course there's lots of mountain up higher than me. And you probably occasionally hear a hummingbird fly by, other birds, and you can probably hear Burley stick fighting. He just found himself a new very good stick fighting stick that's taller than me, and so he's having lots of fun fighting that in the background while I work, since I'm being boring to play with. Let's move this out of the way so you can see. My yard has always been lumpy, and the gophers have made it way worse. So that's one whole planter box. Once again, you can see how it's crumbling. And this part was the bottom. That was, I think, the back vent of the locker, I guess to help let anybody's stinky clothes ventilate out. And since that's been on the ground, there was some drainage and all the earthworms and such, and the soil life could freely come and go, you know, in and out of these boxes for all these years. This is just one. But when I first moved in here, I only saw, I think, 2 earthworms in this whole clearing. Now almost every clump of earth I turn over has lots of them. Some way bigger than this and lots that are smaller. There's the other part that was ventilated on the original back, what's been my bottom. That's that one down. Already got that end of the house done. The entire back side done. And I've got 4 more planters worth to go, I guess, down this side and around the hitch on that end. So that's going to get boring, but you get the idea what I'm doing. I'll have to move the whiskey barrels too. Scoop a bunch of the dirt out of there because they're pretty heavy when they're full of wet dirt. And they're super old, so I'm going to have to be careful. Hopefully they don't fall apart. Just thought I'd show you guys this. This is inside one of those planter boxes with the sides pulled off. There's a mouse tunnel that went through there, and I knew I had mice in here. You can see the tunnel come over to here because they ate some of my plants last year. But in here, and they're going away now that I pulled the cover off, but check out this ant nest. It's pretty neat. I think, yeah, right there you can see them moving their larvae. We don't have fire ants in this area. It's too cold for them, I believe. And ants like this have never caused any problem at all. But isn't that a pretty neat tunnel network they've got going on? I think that kind of thing is fascinating. And look how the roots over in this one came down. This is a rock you're looking at, you know, right along here. But the roots are presumably coming from that big clump of chives up there. You can see them all feathered out along here. I just think this stuff is neat because usually you can't see this far underground so well until you are dismantling something like this. So that's pretty cool. Burley, if you're wondering, is very busy in the stone pile where there's a very annoying chipmunk squeaking at him nonstop. He can't get to it. Most of those boulders weigh more than me, much less him, but he's trying. Okie doke. Here is planter remains in 2 piles. For the first time in 7 years, you can see that Nyth looks like she's on wheels. And this tire right here is gonna need blown up. We were aware that it actually developed a leak on its way up here 7 years ago, so that's not news. We knew that was gonna need air. And the house has not been resting on the tires this entire time. It's been on these tire jacks on every corner. Sitting on the board, sitting on top of the rock that I live on. But now here's what the entire base of the house looks like. It's been a long time since you could see this like this. But that's the trailer that makes up the foundation of the house. Hi folks, Ariel over here. Thanks for spending some of your valuable time watching these videos. Hopefully you found something beautiful, educational, interesting, peaceful, relaxing, or useful while you were here. If so, find more videos here, subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and if you like what you found here, feel free to like and share away so that others can benefit as well. You all have a wonderful day.